President Putin basically said today that Russia is immune from U.S. sanctions. He said that it would not impact the Russian economy in any serious way. Is he wrong?
Good. I'm glad he feels that way. That's good. I'll let you know about it in 6 months from now. Okay. Let's see how it all works out.
The most serious sanctions to date. Vladimir Putin now responding after the U.S. hits Moscow's biggest oil producers with sanctions. It comes just days after President Trump said he believes Vladimir Putin still wants peace. General Jack Keane joins us now. General, do these sanctions matter? Putin says they don't, but most agree they could hurt.
Yeah, well, Putin is a master at getting around sanctions, that he's never been all that much intimidated by it. But here's a couple of factors here. One, his economy is already suffering, and that's the reality of it. With inflation and his currency, huge amount of debt, unemployment is rising. So any amount of economic pressure on him, reducing his revenue sources, is going to have an impact. Now, listen, let's face it. I mean, President Trump has made a decision. He has worked this diplomacy extraordinary in terms of his own strategic patience in dealing with Putin,
I agree,
who talks a good game with him and then goes out and continues the war. Because why? Putin believes the war is in his best interest. He thinks time is on his side. He advertises that he's winning. He's not winning. His last offensive has failed miserably. The reality is that he wants to wear down the United States and wear down the Europeans, put huge pressure on the civilian population, to put pressure on Zelensky to make concessions. That's why he's escalating the war on civilians. So where are we now? President's taken the gloves off. He said, I've had enough of this extended diplomacy. I've run out of patience with Putin. I've given him as much rope as possible. I think this is the beginning. And yes, these are real sanctions. Everyone who's looked at it knows that they are. They have to be enforced. It takes enormous vigilance on the part of the Treasury and the State Department to make sure it's working. And he's got a bunch of other sanctions in the quiver, not the least of which is Senator Lindsey Graham and Senator Blumenthal's proposed legislation, which would slap 500% tariffs on anybody purchasing Russian oil. And so, the president has, that whole ghost fleet out there of tankers. The president can go after that. So he's got more to do on the sanction area. I do think more military pressure. He's removed all the restrictions on long-range offensive weapons. That's a good thing. You can see what's happening. Putin is still increasing the military escalation against the civilian population. We've got to get these Patriot batteries in there as quick as possible. The president has authorized 25 of these batteries to be purchased by the Europeans. We've got to move that to the front of the line, so they get these batteries as soon as possible. And I still think the Tomahawk missiles do make some sense. And also, the Ukrainians have a long-range missile that they've developed called the Flamingo. It hasn't gotten a lot of attention, but they did it themselves in their own defense industrial base by a company named Firepoint. They're advertising it goes well over 1,000 miles. I don't know if that's valid or not. Sometimes manufacturers exaggerate their capabilities, but that is worth taking a hard look at and making certain it has the credibility. If it does, then it certainly is worth the investment in it by the United States and the Europeans. There's ways we can do that without punishing the American taxpayer to do it. We can issue loans to the Ukrainians out of the State Department.
On the ghost fleet.
So, yeah, he's got the gloves are off, and we're moving in terms of economic pressure. We're moving in terms of more military pressure, and that absolutely is the right answer, Brian.
Just a couple of things just to tie it up before we change subjects. They hear you. They've sanctioned 117 vessels on the Russian so-called shadow fleet. That means they're delivering oil and trying to beat the sanctions. Number two, China says they're going to curtail their purchases. India says they're not going to purchase anymore, so that shows gains. And on the use of Tomahawks, Vladimir Putin says if a strike is made in Russian territory with such a weapon, the response will be serious, if not staggering. Let them think about it. You also say it's not 6 months of training for the Ukrainians to use. It's more like 6 weeks of training.
Yeah, well, certainly. Putin, has always called Biden bluff on this situation, threatening escalation. There's never been any escalation. He's threatened nuclear weapons. Certainly there's not been that. There's never even been conventional escalation. So he always threatens something like this, and I think we know for a fact not much is going to happen in terms of his escalation, unless, more drones one night, more missiles one night. We get that, but he can't sustain that. either on the Tomahawks. Listen, a condensed training program like we've done with M1 tanks, HIMARS, ATACMS, F-16s. The Ukrainians exceed everybody's expectation on getting this done quicker. Why? War focuses the mind. And they don't go out of there in an 8-hour day. They go out at 14 hours a day.
Yeah, their innovation's incredible.
I think we can exceed that rather dramatically.
Real quick on Venezuela. First time in my lifetime we're focusing on Central and South America, Venezuela in particular. We have B-1 bombers right there. We also have submarines in the area. We said they were going to look into land strikes to stop the cartels, who the president says is the ISIS of our hemisphere. How do you feel about the so-called new, the modern Monroe Doctrine they're calling the Donroe Doctrine? How do you feel about this?
Well, I think it's high time we went after this thing that was polluting our population so much. I mean, obviously, we have a demand that we create in this country, and these guys feel an obligation to satisfy it and make billions of dollars. But here, we actually have a government involved in this. That's supporting a cartel in the sense the government is part of the cartel because they take the revenue from that source. So we're stopping the sea traffic, but we're also demonstrating to Maduro, by this military presence, change your behavior. And the subtle thing that's happening here is putting pressure on those who are supporting Maduro, who are close to him, and saying, do we really want this? Maduro is bringing this all down on us. So they're attempting to undermine him. And the CIA is likely doing that as well in undermining Maduro. And listen, give credit to the exposure you gave earlier in the show to not only taking down the government of Maduro in terms of how he's transporting these drugs into the United States, but going after the distribution system as a priority inside the United States the way our federal government is doing now. It's never had that kind of a priority before. And both of those things are value-added. We're talking about keeping American people alive here.
General, we need our own show. I got like 20 more topics for you, but unfortunately we're out of time. Thanks so much, General. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you and the team have a wonderful weekend.